to Left Turns, Red Hooks. I'm your host, Dan Lindsay. It's episode number 34, and we're talking Survivor Series WarGames. We are 1 month away from Survivor Series WarGames, and while the WarGames format seemed to have at least one team decided just a few weeks ago, Seth Rollins went and got hurt. I think. No, pretty sure it's true. So with Seth Rollins' injury throwing a wrench into all these potential matchups, I really think WarGames is going to develop in a little bit of a different way this year on the men's side. So what I've done is brought in my team of experts to figure out how we could book this year's WarGames for the men. We're going to dive deep on this one today. We've got potential matchups on the usual 5-on-5 matchups that we see on the main roster. We're also going to discuss the 4-on-4 versions that we saw in NXT. And I had to bring up the 3-on-3 version that we saw in the debut year of WarGames in NXT that I would love to see come back to the main roster one day. And finally, we are going to end this podcast with an ultimate fantasy, likely improbable but super awesome fantasy WarGames matchup, which I've allowed our experts to take on any format or any combination of formats to make this matchup special for you. So with that, let's bring in our experts and discuss WarGames.
WarGames!
Alright, let's welcome back to the pod the extraordinary non-yeeting Tyler Lopes and all things Mr. CM Punk, Mr. Joe Chasen. Gentlemen, it is wonderful to have you guys back and on the pod here. So thank you for coming on as we talk Survivor Series WarGames. A lot of fun here today.
Dan, thank you for having us. I appreciate the fat-shaming intro, but we'll forgive you for now because we're going to have a lot of fun today. And Joe, always good to see you, my friend. It's been too long. I've been meaning to, reach out and, chat about your new job and everything, but we'll save that for a different day. It's good to see you guys.
Gentlemen, always such a pleasure to be here and be welcomed with such masterclass wrestling fans. But let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's do this. We're talking Survivor Series. We got bookings for everything. The first one that I came up with that I wanted to go through with you guys is a format that we have not seen since the inaugural year of WarGames, is the 3-on-3 matchups. And Tyler, I'm gonna kick this off with you first here. You were a big proponent in getting getting this going here with me, which I appreciate. A couple months back when we were talking some ideas. So I'm going to pitch it to you, Tyler. Who makes the cut for your 3-on-3 version of WarGames?
Yeah, and for those out there that are curious, I just randomly called Dan Friday night saying, I have ideas! And I just threw all of these things at him. The poor soul had no idea what was coming that day. So I appreciate you being a good spirit about it, and I'm happy we get to make these things happen. But obviously what you and I talked about that day, Dan, has changed with new injuries, new returns going to different places than I would have probably foreseen, or just slightly earlier than I would have thought. So I had to change some things. So 3-on-3, we haven't seen it since the first NXT WarGames match. I can't even remember what year that was, but that would have been 2016. I mean, it would have been somewhere in that range. 2017, yeah, somewhere around there. So if they were to bring it back this year, here is my pitch. Okay, I'll keep it very short, I promise. So obviously it's 3 teams of 3. So the first team is going to be Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and L.A. Knight. So you will notice, obviously, no Jey Uso, and the reason is because for not just this one, but also for one of the segments later on, I am predicting Jey to make a full-blown by the time we get to Survivor Series. So that will mean Jey will not want to team with his family, so they will bring L.A. Knight in order to be that third partner for them. So that leaves one of the other teams as Jey's team. Jey will basically captain his own squad of 3 in this situation here as well. Now, when you just recently turn heel, you got to find new friends. You got to find new people that you're fighting. Now, it's not going to be the Vision because Jey hates the Vision, whether he's heel or not. So he's going to hate them. He's going to want to fight them. So he's got to find people that he has relationships with and that are going to agree with his heel turn, or at least the logic behind it. And I think there's no two perfect men than the two men outside of his family that he's had the best relationship with and the longest tenured relationship with in the company, and that is Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of the New Day. So the second team will be Jey Uso, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, and that will also mean you'll have Grayson Waller kind of wandering around the cage, kind of like what Rhea Ripley did, although she didn't wander around the cage the entire time during the Judgment. But you kind of have something similar where he could get involved. You have that element to that match. And then, my friends, you have the third team. And here's where I get into some fun stuff. So, the third team is was supposed to be Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. But with Seth Rollins' injury, that now is by the wayside. So what do? I think you go with the story elements that are at play here. You keep Braun Breaker, you keep Bronson Reed, but you have a surprise third partner in Austin Theory. Austin Theory, Grayson Waller's former tag team partner. He has no idea it's coming the way I envision it. You know, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed say, we don't have a third man. We're going to kick the crap out of all 6 of you by ourselves because we can. So they go in with just 2 guys. At some point, Team Jey is about to win. Grayson Waller's gotten himself involved. And right then, Austin, A-Town down, screaming out loud. And that music plays. Austin Theory comes down. Grayson Waller doesn't know what the heck to do. He's losing his mind. Whoa, I thought he was dead. I thought I killed him. Because, wrestling is silly. So, and then Austin Theory beats Grayson Waller, and then, he joins the Vision, and then the Vision end up winning. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And you know what? I will be fair. Maybe Austin Theory, I don't know what his situation is injury-wise or what's going on. So maybe he had a catastrophic injury, and he's going to be out for a long, long time. And I don't know that that's the case. So I do have a backup, just in case anybody out there necessarily is kind of a stickler for that. If Austin Theory won't work because of that, that story, I think would be great. Just throw Drew McIntyre in there. He hates Roman Reigns. He hates Jimmy Uso. He's in a program with him right now. He hates Jey. So he would, he wouldn't want to. He'd want to kick the crap out of Jey more. He seems like the kind of guy that Paul Heyman could pay enough money to be on his team with him. And then it would just be a team of 3 monsters, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Can't wait to dive into that team more. But before we do that, let's go to Joe here. Joe, what's your matchup here for the 3-on-3?
I like that one a lot, and that's going to be a hard one to beat. But I got my own. So, just want to make sure I have my correct list right. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so I am a 3-on-3 goes against my belief of. So my personal favorite is the traditional. Well, I don't know if it's traditional. The typical 5-on-5. I'm a big advocate for all the superstars. I don't want any mid-card people in that match. I want all the A-class people in that match. But we'll get to that when we get to the 5-on-5. So that being said, 3-on-3, I had to get a little creative. I'm kind of unfamiliar with how some of the matches they did with NXT, just because I just didn't really watch NXT at that time. So I got a chance to kind of use my imagination with it. So I'll start with Team 1. Team 1 is the, I suppose of the 3 of them, it is the face team. It is Punk, Roman, and Jey. It's the most obvious. It's a little almost predictable. You have Punk, who's a face. You have Roman, who's a face, and you have Jey, who's the ultimate face. And there's some history with Roman and Jey and Punk. Really, all 3 of them at this point. Team 2 is, again, a little predictable, but it's the ultimate heel team. So it's Solo, Tonga, and Tama. That's a way to just get some quick chemistry in there. You have a team where they're already a faction. It's not like you're making a faction just for the match. It's an already established faction. Team 3 is where things get a little interesting. 3 is kind of a faction. It's Bronson and Brock. excuse me, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. But because Rollins is out, it's that typical storyline of we need a third guy. We're heels. Nobody likes us. Who are we going to find? And out comes Brock Lesnar because he's a Paul Heyman guy. You could do these kind of subtle segments leading up to it where it's like, make the call, make the call. They've done before with him before, and I always really love that kind of stuff. But I think with Brock, the thing that makes him great in this match is he's essentially the wild card. He's not a face. He's also not a heel. He's kind of whatever they want him to be for storylines in the last couple of years. So I really had this vision where this match ends with they duke it out, 20, 25, 30-minute match. And then all of a sudden, Brock Lesnar does what he does best and just F5s everyone, not just the opponents. He starts F5ing everyone. So it's the best way to have a heel win where the faces are winning. Roman and Jey and Punk are on their way to victory. And then all of a sudden, F5 left, F5 right. And then who crawls in for the pin? The worst person you want. Solo Sikoa crawls in. That team wins. The team that was probably, if you made betting favorites, the team that was not supposed to win comes up with the victory, all because Brock Lesnar ruins the whole thing. And that's kind of what I had in mind for that.
I like it. I like it. No, I can't wait. I think it's great. Kind of different take. I honestly wanted to kind of go myself like a bloodline team when we had things going on, or at least bloodline versus Vision versus bloodline. But with Seth being out, with Solo being out, or not Solo, Jacob Fatu being out, kind of just I'll kind of threw that into a wrench for me when Tyler and I were first talking about that. So I went completely different. I did not go bloodline or even Vision related at all. Kind of going with a different storyline for a 3-on-3
Love
that I
it.
feel that wouldn't necessarily have to be as shoehorned in that way, but I could shoehorn it other matchups here. So MFT is now 5 people. So that's kind of like, well, which of the 3 did you take in? Personally, for me, do you take in for that? So I went with 2 heel teams and a face team. First team is the newly World Tag Team Title Champions. I think that's the right titles for the tag titles on Monday Night Raw. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, and they bring in Penta. They've already kind of had a couple matches, all 3 of them together, so I feel that's a very easy partnership to have there. And then on top of that, we're just full going into this dissension with the Judgment Day, where Finn and JD, they just bail on Dominic. They just finally just move on from Dominic. They're done with him, and they turn around and they look at Rusev, and it's like, we need someone to really back this up in a match like WarGames. Rusev, you are with us because we know that Rusev doesn't like Penta, and we know that Rusev doesn't like Dominic right now, so we feel like that's perfect to have Rusev there. So what does Dominic do? Well, he wants to be in this match, and so he goes up to the Los Americanos and says, "Hey, 2 of you 3, you're in the ring with me." And honestly, the way the couple of the newer guys of Los Americanos kind of come along, you could kind of combine them to one guy anyway, and you could really have 4, and they'd probably still get beat the junk. So that is my 3-on-3 kind of just going with another Raw storyline of all centered around basically the IC title and the tag team titles. So it was hard for me to, again, I want to involve Brock in some of these. I think it'd be awesome to see Brock in some of these teams. But would love to kind of hear you guys' thoughts on each other's teams. You guys are pretty similar on who you went. You involved a different tag team there on yours, Tyler, with bringing in the New Day, part of the New Day there. But I love all the bloodline through lines that we have on Joe's side here. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on each other's teams here a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I could go first, Joe. Obviously, I really liked your stuff. I agree with basically everything you said. You will see how much I agree with you as we get into the 4-on-4s, the 5-on-5s, and the fantasy bookings. But obviously, with the 3v3v3, I wanted to kind of just do something a little bit different. And a full disclosure, exactly what you said, Dan, about your stuff earlier. Jacob Fatu's injury goofed this up completely for me. This was the one I struggled with the most, because for me it would have been super easy for for me to just say, oh well, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga slide right in with Team J because they've been gone, so they could just come right in. That's family, and then you got Seth and Breaker, and that's easy. Like, that would have been super easy. That's what I probably would have gone with. But with all the injuries, I had to get creative. And obviously, as did you, Joe, and I think you guys, all three of us, I think we did a great job. But let us know in the comments, folks. We did a great job. But I think I really liked all three of them. Obviously, Dan's completely different from Joe's and I, which is not a bad thing at all. I actually said to my wife before I stepped in here, I went, hey, do you think I should have even given the women's war games like even a remote thought? Like, I feel like I probably should have. Like, that probably would have been good, because there's a lot of fun stories you could tell with that right now. Like, even especially like 3-on-3-on-3, like you could do like Julia, Kiana James, and Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton, and two partners of her choosing, like whoever you want. Like, you could just tell really fun stories with women's war games. I just didn't do them for this, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
I really liked all.
And I wanted to keep this a lot centered more on the men's, because I feel like the women's war games usually gets put together very last second. I feel like it's a little bit harder to grasp at straws with the women's side this far out from war games. I think a couple more weeks we might have some ideas, but I think it could be very Raw centered, but there's a lot of lines on SmackDown or around the women's tag titles that could involve that too. But no, I love involving New Day, just kind of getting a team that we don't talk about enough, especially after their heel turn, involved in something like this. So, where are your thoughts on these teams, Joe?
Well, one thing I thought about doing, and it's more of like a hindsight's 2020 kind of thing. Like, you make your own, and then you hear another one, and you're like, damn, I wish I did that one. But I I opened up my whole segment by saying that typically my philosophy for unique style matches, so Hell in a Cell, War Games, Championship Scrambles, I tend to think they're better, bigger. So the A tier superstars, like this is the big time. It's the main event. You want to have those. But the more and more I sit here and think about it, some of the best matches that happen in these unique ones are like the SmackDown tag team division, right? Like, they put on bangers at least 2 or 3 times a year. And one thing I just thought of as I was sitting here was, how cool would it be if you did a 3-on-3, so 9 total, 3 teams, and you did the tag team division, but just for the sake of jazzing it up, you have tag teams, so you have 2 guys, 2 guys, 2 guys, and the stipulation is each team has to find their third guy. That way you're introducing 3 mystery people on top of the already given team. So, like, imagine if you had Motor City Machine Guns, and they had to find a third, and then you throw in 2 guys from the goodness, I should know this, the Wide Six, excuse me. So you take 2 of their guys. Well, sorry, you can't take your third guy. You have to come up with a random third one. So then you start throwing in all kinds of random stuff. Yeah, the Motor City Machine Guns with Rusev, or the Wyatt Six, Johnny Gargano, like, whatever, like, so it just creates, like, you can go all different ways with these types of matches, and clearly we all 3 of us kind of took that route of, I kind of went for like main event names. Tyler, you went with more traditional, like, known chemistry tag teams. Throw in the New Day with Jey Uso. So really, there's no wrong answer, obviously, but it's cool that we all kind of had different, like, thought processes with it.
Yeah, for sure, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was the fun thing about this exercise, especially going on a format that we haven't seen. We've only really seen this one for War Games, probably won't ever, but I would love to see it again. And when the Bloodline was at its height, I'm pretty sure, Tyler, I think I even was like, man, could you imagine 2 War Games from now where you have like a Roman team and a Fatu team and a J team? I think that'd have been a lot of cool. And that was before, and that was like oh, you could bring in Zillify and Lance, and you could bring in so many other guys that they obviously with the MFT route, but anyway, yeah, no, that's the fun part about this thought process. I think especially when you get to this one, there just being so many different types of possibilities at this, depending on who you want to feature, who hasn't been featured in a while. That the SmackDown Tag Division. That's a great point, Joe. With there of, I think it was SummerSlam where they put on that ladder match. That was probably one of the best ladder matches in a while, and it was just turmoil and a lot of fun, and we need more rare gimmick matches, and I think to showcase different people, different styles and stuff. So this was fun going through the 3-on-3-on-3. But let's move on to the traditional, at least the main roster traditional 5-on-5 matches. I think this will be a lot of fun here. I think we're going to be very similar on these, just by, I think, considering storylines and everything. But I'm very excited to see what everybody has here. Joe, I'm going to kick it to you first on this one. Let's go through your 5-on-5 team here.
Yeah, so when I was coming up with this, I'm pulling up my list here. There was like two philosophies that I did, and I was coming up with it. One was almost like a predict meter. It was like what I think is going to end up happening, but that wasn't as fun as what I want to happen. So I'll give you the what I want.
Sure.
But what I want is, this is where my philosophy really kicks in. If you're going to have this kind of a match, it's going to be the main event. It's going to be, in theory, a car crash, bodies flying everywhere type of match. You want to try to have these main event players, right? So with that in mind, I am traditional in a sense where I'm a sucker for the all face team and the all heel team. Obviously, in modern wrestling in the last probably 5-10 years, they've found ways to jazz that up where there's a heel turn or a face turn in the middle of the match while the teams are already been made, or they find ways to keep it interesting where it isn't as like cut and dry as 5 face, 5 heel. But in my case, I just went with the traditional 5 faces, 5 heels. But I'll give you a very cool thought that I had about this match. So team 1 is the face team. It's the heavy hitters, right? It is CM Punk, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, LA Knight. That is your all face, all cheers. That is the team that, in theory, everyone wants to win. Against Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, and Chris Jericho.
Ooh.
So I'll walk you through the entrances. The match almost doesn't matter in this case. In this kind of rundown that I'm giving you, the match can go either way. Win, lose, doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it's these heavy hitters, and all kind of doesn't really matter. Whoever wins, wins. But the thing that makes this match cool is the shocker, obviously, is Chris Jericho, right? So you do all the entrances. We'll do the faces first, get the crowd going. And then the heels come out second. So Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker come out. Drew comes out. Brock comes out. Jericho's music hits. That's, in theory, supposed to be this big mega thing. I haven't worked out the details yet. Somehow, some way, LA Knight does not make it to the start of the bell. I think they trap him on the outside, beat the shit out of him, and now, oh no, it's 5-on-4. It's the old CM Punk gets beat up before he could defend in the championship scramble. It's the old right before someone's supposed to go out in the Royal Rumble, they get beat up, and then someone has to take their place. And the person taking LA Knight's place is Kevin Owens. So now you have Chris Jericho in the ring. Kevin Owens' music hits. You've got some history there. And just in general, you have a KO and a returning KO and a returning Chris Jericho for one team and the other team. Now you have 5 faces, one's returning, 5 heels, one's returning. So already before the match starts, you have a lot of electricity in that arena. And again, because of that electricity and the unexpectedness of it, doesn't matter who wins. Have Brock Lesnar F5 everyone and he wins for all I care. I think it's just a cool recipe for main event guys, returning guys, not only returning guys, but company returning guys, which typically are the biggest returns of all mecha returns. So that's what I had for my dream 5-on-5.
That'd
All
be an
right.
outstanding dream on 5-on-5. And unfortunately tonight Chris Yates wasn't able to join us, our horror loving Chris. We love to have him around this pod too, but he wasn't able to join us tonight. But I did want to read off his 5-on-5 here too before we get to you, Tyler. He was involving the Wyatt Six and the MFTs, but a little bit of a twist where you get the Wyatt Six in a mixed tag war games, so that way you could get um, Nikki Cross in there, and then for the MFTs instead of just he didn't give me which are the 4 of the 5 MFTs in, but I'm assuming you probably drop someone like Tama Tonga in there, or JC Mateo, one of the two. Drop one of those two, and he was throwing in Nia Jax to make it the mixed tag war games there for the 5-on-5. So I thought that was very creative from him. He's obviously a very big Wyatt Six person. But Wyatt Six MFTs, but making it a mixed war games and getting Nikki Cross and Nia Jax involved. So I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts on that. But before we do that, Tyler, I would love to hear your rundown on your 5-on-5.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, very different from what I will have here. Did Chris, but obviously Chris has a very creative mind, and I love that. I love that match. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, except for the Nia Jax part. That would not be fun for me.
I thought that'd be your
Okay.
favorite part there.
That would, yes. I would just whoopee. Okay, so she's nice, by the way. I feel so bad saying she's a very nice person. Anyway, so my 5-on-5, I talked about earlier how I agreed with a lot of the stuff that Joe said, in terms of the main event guys and the certain guys that he had in certain spots, and you're going to see it here. So I'm going to talk about the heel team first this time instead of the face team. So the heel team is Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, right? So those are your leaders of the team. Okay. Brock Lesnar is the third guy. And then now is when we can start to have some fun, right? This is where it can start to be a bunch of different options. If it were up to me, it would be a team of almost all monsters and then Austin Theory. That would be my thing. And if you don't want to do that, you could do what we did with the 3v3 and replace him with Drew McIntyre, and then it really is basically a team of all monsters, because the fourth guy, well, I guess the fifth, whatever, one of the other two, is Gunther. Gunther will make his return and be the fifth man in Team Vision to have to take on the poor souls on the other team that have to stare down that loaded barrel. Okay, so, and then you have the face team. Now, by the way, again, I'll say this. If Gunther is still not medically cleared to compete by the time WarGames goes around, that's okay. I have a replacement, Logan Paul. We could do Logan Paul. It would bring more eyeballs to the match. He's never been in a WarGames. He could do a big old leap with the phone and with the drone and all that stuff off the top of the cage. It would be a big moment. Whoop-de-doo. Great. We could do that. Wouldn't be as fun because I like Gunther, obviously. But, for some people, that's their cup of tea, so they can have that. All right. Now, let's assume it's the A team, right? So let's assume it's Reed, Breaker, Lesnar, Theory, Gunther. Let's assume that's your 5. So that would mean face team is going to be similar to the 3v3. So we got Roman, we've got Jimmy, and we've got LA Knight. So that is the base 3, and they've got to find 2 other guys that are stupid enough to face this crazy team of monsters, right? Well, luckily, there's 2 people that are just dumb enough and just brave enough to want to step into the ring with that team. The first one is, as Joe alluded to earlier, I don't remember if we were on air or off air when he alluded to this, so I may be spoiling. This is what Joe said earlier. CM Punk. CM Punk is the first that joins Roman's team. He obviously has tons of problems with the Vision, and he's had a history with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar and all this stuff. So Punk agrees, and Punk convinces the GOAT himself, John Cena to be the fifth man on Roman's team. So your two teams, just to review, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Brock Lesnar, Gunther, Austin Theory versus Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, LA Knight, CM Punk, and John Cena. So that is who I have.
Very nice, very nice. I'm looking forward to something like that. And that would be just ecstatic.
I
That'd
love the
be
Logan ad. It did not even cross my mind. It'd be such an incredible ad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, and that would be, I mean, if you took Gunther out of there, or you took Theory out of there, and either one of them were Logan Paul, like I think that would be like, can you not see like a team of four of Brock Lesnar, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Gunther, and Paul Heyman looking for a fifth guy, and Logan Paul just weaseling his way in, like, yeah, I'm gonna hedge my bets that this team's gonna win because like you could just totally see that promo of like all these monsters, and then just Logan Paul just like, hey, I'm here, and then just being like, oh, why did we let him on this team? You know?
I got one. Sub out Logan. They're looking for their final guy. The four are together in the back by the parking garage area, and a giant, almost monster truck pulls up, and who pops out? Braun Strowman.
There you go. You can do Braun Strowman as long as he's done eating all the food in the entire country. Apparently, have you guys heard about that show or seen that show?
I've been meaning to look it up and watch it, but yeah, no, that should be interesting. Braun Strowman is another fun name to throw into a match like this. I am again going a little off kilter here from you guys. Actually, somewhat similar to Chris. I'm actually involving the Wyatt Six in my match and the MFTs. Because where I came from, Rollins, as we've talked before, Rollins ruined this for all of us. Like, he ruined it. And then with Jacob,
pretty much.
Jake went SmackDown being hurt and then being in a program with Drew. I'm kind of like, I wanted to keep it as much as Jacob's not really involved with the guys. So to me, like, the 5-on-5 was kind of hard for me to really pick out a fifth for the guys that I wanted that you'll see in my 4-on-4. And all of a sudden, we have two big factions on SmackDown. We have the Wyatt Six and we have the MFTs. The MFTs stand at 5 guys now with there's Tangaloa now back, and he has officially joined them back. So them versus the Wyatt Six, so he kind of like the Wyatt Six. Now, personally, I feel like the Wyatt Six could probably do a 5-on-4 handicap and still do really well and possibly win a match like this in WarGames, just because they look monstrous. But for all intents and purposes, we're doing 5-on-5 here. So I have the Wyatt Six going after and picking up Aleister Black and pulling him into this match. So I kind of have two heel teams. I know, Tyler, I know you would love this. I kind of have two heel teams here in a way. But I feel like with the WarGames like that, match like this, it doesn't really matter if it's two heel teams. I think it's two face teams that'd be a little weird. But two heel teams, just because I think you can really establish which faction is going to dominate SmackDown going forward. I think we are going to get a program between Wyatt Six and MFTs going forward here. But that's what I would do for the 5-on-5 here is Wyatt Six and MFTs. Wyatt Six bringing in Aleister Black. So, let's definitely discuss these because we're all kind of different here too. I love Joe bringing back both KO and Jericho. I that would be awesome to know that if KO could actually be healthy for a match, and a match like this, especially as toned as it can be in the body. But I would, we all want KO back. We have a lot of big stars on the shelf right now. So I definitely like that. And I mean, that I like how you brought in Cena. I'm kind of, I was kind of torn in brother to not bring Cena into a WarGames booking here, but Cena in that on his final run would not be a bad thing. So I'd love to hear your thoughts from you guys on these potential matchups here. Whoever wants to.
Joe, I'll let you go first this time.
Cena's an interesting one. I also pondered Cena. In one of my drafts, I have So I'll give you my other. You guys, I'll just as a refresher. My faces are Punk, Reigns, Styles, Rhodes, LA Knight, replaced by KO. In my original one, it was Punk, Roman, John Cena, Jey, and Jimmy. Jey and Jimmy made the most sense just because it's like, if you're going to have Jey in there and you need a fifth, throw in Jimmy. He's due to get over. You can throw him into a match, and it's kind of giving him a little bit of spotlight there. And as a substitution for John, I also had Fatu. I noticed that. Did anyone say Fatu?
Well, he's injured. He's catastrophically injured in real life. I think that's kind of the reason
that's
why.
what I thought.
I would have had him all over this if he was
Same.
he would have been in every single one of mine.
Same.
So, but he's injured, so
So John's an interesting one because he makes sense logically. Like, let's just say the context of why you wouldn't have John is tough. The guy's got 2, maybe 3 more matches left. Do you quote unquote waste one of those putting him in that? I don't see why not. It's a unique match. It's going to be the main event. Almost more memorable to put him in that rather than like, oh, by the way, that same pay-per-view, he had a one-on-one an hour and a half earlier. So why not put him in there? The problem with it is as much as we love and glaze on him enough, I don't know if that's his match. Like, it just visually seems odd putting him in that environment, just because of how ultra face he is now at this point. In the farewell tour, it would just be a bunch of the greatest hits, turning to the camera, waving, smiling, getting the crowd going, and then getting annihilated by a heel. Like, I don't know chemistry wise if it's wise to put him in that match, especially if this match is probably going to have a lot to do with the road to Mania. I feel like WarGames has become the unofficial start to the road to Mania. It used to always be the Royal Rumble, right? But now it tends to carry over. It's kind of like that big end of the year show that leads into that. And if he's not going to be around anyways, why even have him in there kind of thing? So it's almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm going to veer from putting him in it just so you can, to my point, why put him in there when I could have a really cool one-on-one match an hour and a half earlier in the pay-per-view? That's like the main reason, I think. If it was any other year, if it was 2010, yeah, he's going to be in that match. That's kind of my thought with it.
Fair enough, and that's a fair take. My retort to that, in terms of my reasoning for putting him in, now obviously in my kind of limited, kind of just throwing this together, right? I didn't get a chance to work out all the details, so forgive my ignorance on this part. But for me, when you have such limited dates left for John Cena, I think it's 4 left, right? 3, 4, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
If he were to have a one-on-one match, yes, was the AJ Styles match phenomenal? Yeah, that was not intentional, but it happened. Sorry. Yes, it clearly was. It was obviously great. Did it need any build? No, probably not. But I would not like to get into the habit of having every single one-on-one match for John Cena's last couple of just be them promoting it on Twitter and then it happening. Like, that is please don't do that. So I'm thinking in terms of, how can you get John Cena into something without him having to appear or build him up for being in it before it happens? Easy. He's a surprise 5th partner of WarGames. We don't know who the 5th partner is. John Cena's music hits, just like Randy Orton a few years ago. He comes down. He beats the heck out of everybody. That now also, the second point to that, if there's somebody in the match that takes particular bones about it, like he really doesn't like the fact that John Cena cost them the match, that could set up John Cena's final match, which will be only a few weeks after Survivor Series. So now you have 3 appearances where Cena can build to that final match for two Raws or 2 appearances, and then the final match, and then you're done, right? So, or one match, or one, set it up once, then have the match, then have him come back one more time and say goodbye if that's what you want to do. Whatever it is, right? So that's my reasoning. I think it's easier to shoehorn him into a WarGames match with little to no build than it is to, at this point, shoehorn him into what would most likely be his last program with somebody in a one-on-one match at Survivor Series with just one appearance or two appearances left. That's kind of the way I look at it. Is that the right way to go? I don't know, but that's my logic. So hopefully you guys can at least, even if you may not agree with it, at least see the steps that I'm taking to get to my conclusion anyway.
Yeah, no, I think Cena being involved, especially in what you have there, Tyler, I think him being involved in a match of War Games and having both. Oh, I mean, actually, I'm looking at your guys here, having the three of either him, like if he were to come in and wreck, and he were to actually pin Braun or Brock or Gunther, like that could easily set up one of those three, who are three of the rumored last matches for him. That could easily get him that opponent for that final match, and either any of those three. Well, I wouldn't care for it to go back to Brock. I mean, I know that's been one
Oh
of the many
God, no!
rumors
Please no.
of him kind of having a comeuppance on Brock for his last match. But I think at least with Braun or Gunther being in that match, like you could easily write that into that. That's one of his opponents for his final match that we'll have, which is very sad. But we're not going to get sad in this podcast today. That's going to be for later down the road. But
If you guys will indulge, I'll paint a picture for you of a thought I just had. Very rarely in wrestling do we see the double duty. The has a match to start the night and then has another match later in the night for whatever the reason may be, whatever the context in the show is. Let's say you have Cena versus Dom for the Intercontinental title to start the night. Great match. 35 minutes, 30 minutes, awesome match. Cena loses, gets a rousing ovation as he leaves the ring. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't get the job done. Couldn't get that elusive Intercontinental title. But he's grateful. He hears the crowd. He tells the people to turn the music off so he can hear the crowd. Later in the show, 2.5 hours later, whoever the fifth face is supposed to come out, maybe it's LA Knight, maybe it's Jey Uso, whatever, they get attacked from behind, and all of a sudden, with just minutes to go, they need a fifth. And who goes into the locker room to see if he can answer the bell? CM Punk goes right up in his grill and says, "We need you." And taped up, still a little defeated, Cena does double duty that night. Why? Because he's only got 3 to go anyways. There's no next year. Why not? Pull a double duty. How cool would that be? And then that's when Lesnar's music hits and John goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
No.
Not again. I've already had enough F5s this year.
Can I change my
cool
t-shirts to sometimes gives up? Can I please? That would be lovely if I could just sometimes.
Occasionally we
Is
give
there
up.
some wiggle room?
Occasionally. Yeah. Awesome. This has been great so far. Seeing the 3-on-3, now the 5-on-5 matches. I can't wait to see what we have more in front of us. All right, now with our two non-traditional to traditional, and now kind of to in the middle, the traditional NXT version of War Games, I guess we can say the 4-on-4 matchup. Because I don't believe NXT ever went 5-on-5 except for maybe once, but I'm pretty sure they were always 4-on-4. Tyler, I'll let you correct me there, but I'm pretty sure when I looked it up, it was all 4-on-4.
I think you're correct. I don't think they ever did a 5-on-5 in NXT.
Some in the comments can let me know too, and as we go forward here too, I'd love to see everybody's thoughts too on all our matches. If you like anybody's better, who you replace, who what you do and don't like, please leave those in the comments below. But let's get into our 4-on-4 matchups. Tyler, I will kick it back to you first here. Let's go through your 4-on-4 matchup. I'm very curious, but I have a feeling we're not going to see. I'm very curious to see who we have drop out from the 5-on-5, knowing kind of where you go.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, Dan. I feel kind of lame. I think it makes sense that I went first because it's gonna basically be most of my 5-on-5, just minus 2 people. So it's nothing, no groundbreaking, earth-shattering time-altering news here from Mr. Lopes here. So basically, what I have is I have that same kind of trio that's been throughout, right? Roman, Jimmy, and LA Knight. They are the three that have kind of made sense to me in terms of what I've seen on screen that would stick together, or at least commonly unite against the Vision, minus Jey, because again, as I said early on, in this world, Jey turns heel and just abandons his family, and replaces Rey Mysterio as the deadbeat family member of the year, right? So, no, I tease, but so and then the fourth member of this spoiler could have been Jey. We could go that route, obviously, if we wanted to, but I decided nay, and I decided on CM Punk, much like I did in the 5-on-5. So the team is again Roman, Jimmy, LA Knight, and CM Punk versus Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Brock Lesnar, and Austin Theory. But then again, this would be like the most clean switch if you wanted to swap out Drew and just not have Theory at all and just have it be 4 monsters. I would be totally fine with that as well. If anything, I actually might prefer that, but I wanted to give both options to anybody out there who may love Austin Theory. I don't feel like having any A-Town Down Under fans or A-Town Down fans screaming at me in the comments, so he's included, don't worry. But again, so that would be my 4-on-4.
And Theory is well rumored to be a part of the Vision pre-Rollins injury, so to have him a part of WarGames wouldn't be that far of a stretch because that's been a rumor for a long, long time. All right, Joe, your turn. Who's your 4-on-4 matchup here?
4-on-4. Let me make sure I got my list pulled up here. 4-on-4. I actually struggled with this one more than 3-3-3 and the 5-on-5 for no particular reason. I guess it was just you're cutting down to less people, so you had to almost condense it. But I did mine, much like Tyler, is similar to my 5. It's almost like a condensed version of it, but I took a sort of a unique route. One team is Punk, Roman, Jey, and Jimmy. I like it because it's neat, and not like a neat, like cool definition of neat. Like it's literally like organized and neat. You package Jimmy and Jey, you have Roman, so Punk is in that sense kind of the odd man out, where it's like a reunion of the bloodline, and then you throw CM Punk in there. The reason I threw Punk in there is because I had this cool idea where you have a throwback of Jimmy, Jey, and Roman, and their previous chemistry is still there for most of the match. It's Punk is almost the black sheep. He's just kind of trying to find his way in this team that already has chemistry. But as the match goes on, Jimmy and Jey start to rally under Punk. So towards the end, you have this dynamic of Punk and Roman butting heads like, I'm the leader. I'm the leader. Like they're listening to me. And I just kind of thought that was a cool dynamic, which would in turn lead to a future Punk versus Roman match. The other team, Punk, Roman, Jey, Jimmy. The other team is Bronson, Braun Breaker, Brock Lesnar. So you have these 3 heavy hitters organized by Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman does the old, I'm going to make the call. We're going to get Brock. And then as the fourth one, I struggled to think of one. So I almost pulled from a hat to an extent, but I liked what came out of it. I chose Rusev. Rusev is directionless right now, which is a shame because he came in hot. He had a cool AEW run, but he has yet to recreate the magic of Rusev Day with this new character, different from Rusev Day, less hokey, less goofy. He's just a strong man. That's kind of his whole gimmick right now. But I think it works only because just the thought of him teaming with Brock is a cool thought. You have this kind of unofficial test of strength kind of thing. They're trying to one-up each other the entire time. And then while I was thinking about that, I thought, well, maybe at that logic, throw in Sheamus on the other team. But I steered away from it because even though Rusev and Sheamus are great rivals, you can pull them apart. You don't need to. It doesn't need to be the rivalry of rivalries. You can get Rusev over without the help of Sheamus. So I threw Rusev in there mostly just to get him some spotlight too. It's like he's a very good wrestler and he's very talented and he's a big guy.
Yeah.
So find a way to kind of showcase him. So he's kind of the most anticlimactic of the 8 total, but you can find a way to make it work, I think.
Yeah. I honestly don't feel like he's as anticlimactic as you think. If in one of my drafts for my 5-on-5, I actually had a Rusev involved in the 5-on-5. With what the 4 I actually have here that I'll say in a minute for the heel team. So I don't think it's actually as far as off because again, if you're going for a monster heel group and you want to stay in the main roster, I mean, and you don't even want to go to SmackDown. So Rusev, I think, is a good fit there. He's around the IC title right now, but I feel like you could insert him to this War Games if you're just trying to. Rusev, we're trying, we just need another heavy hitter, and maybe he's out of the picture by the time we get to War Games for the IC title anyway. Or he has the IC title. We always seem to get at least 1 or 2 title holders in War Games because, we can't have all these title matches plus War Games. So I don't think you're as far off. I honestly almost put him in my 4-on-4 here. But this is where I kind of stick with you guys with keeping this around the big storyline on Raw. My face team, same exact as yours actually, Joe. Roman, Punk, Jey, and Jimmy versus the Killer Bees, I think is what we need to call them. Braun, Bronson, and Brock. And I think again, the kind of like I was saying with the Wyatt 6, you could have 4 in a 5-on-5 match. I think you could have those 3 in a 4-on-4 match, and you'd be fine. But for kicks and giggles, let's say Braun Breaker calls down to NXT and it's like, hey Oba, come up and join us. Let's showcase you off to the main roster crowd. So my heel team is the Killer Bees, Braun, Bronson, and Brock, and they pull up Oba to face Roman, Punk, Jey, and Jimmy. What I'd like to call this is the destruction versus dysfunction. The dysfunction being on the bloodline side. I could just the way storylines are going. I don't know if Jey will necessarily turn heel, but I think if he hasn't turned heel by War Games, he could very easily do it at War Games, and not to help out the Killer Bees and Oba. It's more of just like Roman, I'm just done with you. Jimmy, I'm just done with you. I need to be my own guy. He just turns on him. He doesn't help break up a pin when he could break up a pin, and he leaves Punk to get pinned by Braun Breaker. And there we go. I just think you could really write that in to kind of be somewhat of a him finally breaking off or him being even shunned off. I think in a way. But a lot of dysfunction could happen with that foursome of Roman, Punk, Jey, and the Usos. I just think it's been building. It could keep building, kind of like you were saying, Joe, of where this stuff keeps going into next year, into Mania season. They are kind of seeming to do that lately. A little bit more where storylines aren't, a true, hard stop. They continue through a lot of PLEs, a lot of shows and stuff. So the Killer Bees and Oba versus Roman, Punk, and the Usos, and Punk and Roman reuniting for another War Games, which was just as conflicting last year, and I think it'd just be as conflicting this year. But I think Roman would be the one reaching out to Punk and saying, "Hey, we did this last year. Let's do it one more time." Bronson wants this match because he wants to get his revenge because this match last year left him out of WWE for 4-6 months. I forget exactly how long. Might have even been longer, but we didn't get a lot of Bronson Reed for a while because of this match last year. So I feel like you could run a lot of this back in that fashion. And who doesn't want to see Oba team up with these monsters? I think that would be a lot of fun. But I have no problem inserting a guy like Rusev 2 here. I think that could be another or Drew. I think we basically get the half-cock bloodline versus a bunch of monsters. I think that's where we're all kind of going here, and for all intents and purposes here. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on different people here and there.
Yeah, so Dan, you will see my full thoughts on your inclusion of Obafemi once we reach our next segment. So I guess I'll spoil that for everyone. But I did want to say something about yours, Joe. You talked about how in the dynamic with Roman and Jimmy and Jey and Punk, that Jimmy and Jey would rally behind Punk in that match and kind of split off from Roman, and that would allow Punk to butt heads with Roman. I'm the leader. I'm the leader. You talked about all that, right? I think it would make a little more storyline sense, especially at this point, if Jimmy were to side with Punk and Jey were to side with Roman, and you have two like straight up like almost tag teams, like, no, you should go over here, no, you should go over here, like, Punk and Jimmy trying to almost talk sense in Jey and Roman, like, this isn't, we agreed that this isn't what we're gonna do, and they're like, no, this is what we're gonna do because we know better than you, because I don't remember you holding a world title, Jimmy. Punk, I don't remember you being relevant in the last 10 years here. So, I think, so I think that would be like just one small adjustment in the mindset of that to make it just that more intriguing. Now, is that going to lead to another Jimmy versus Jey? By that logic, you said, to lead to Punk versus Roman, like say at WrestleMania or something, like, or maybe even just down the road. But like, does that lead to another Jimmy versus Jey match? Boy, howdy, do I hope not, because the last one didn't really go so well. But, who knows? Maybe it just leads to a breakup of the faction again, or a breakup of the Usos again, and I don't know. But I think I liked that aspect. I liked everything else about what you obviously said. Just that one little thing that kind of popped into my head. But yeah, I think everybody kind of was on a pretty similar page in terms of what we're looking for in that 4-on-4. So I love to see great minds thinking alike.
One thing that I don't know why it just dawned on me now, but so obviously this whole time we've been kind of doing more along the lines of fantasy booking, like what would be cool and what we want to see versus like what's the most likely to happen, which is fun. Even though we've done that, a lot of our predictions have been at least based in reality. Like they aren't like unbelievably far-fetched. One thing I just thought of, the consistent theme between all our picks is it's very likely. We don't know the teams, we just know they'll be involved. It will be Punk, Roman, Jimmy. Like at the very least, we can all come to grips that like they will be in that match. Well, purely timeline thinking, one of Punk and Jey, is gonna be the world heavyweight champion in that match. That Saturday night main event is before all of this is happening. So the more and more I think about it, we talked about it before we went on, before we went live. Let's just say that it's true. It's 100% true that the teams are going to revolve around Roman and Punk and the Vision, right? Let's just assume that's true for conversation's sake. Why was Punk and Roman leaked, but not Jimmy and Roman? It's starting to make me realize I think Jay's going to win the World Heavyweight title, and he's going to not be in that match because he'll be busy defending it. Like, think about it. Like, why is Punk in that match? Why would he be in that match if he's the World Heavyweight champion? And Cody Rhodes isn't even mentioned. He's a champion too. It's just making me realize what's probably going to happen. Saturday night's main event, someone is going to cost Punk the World Heavyweight title. Whether it's Gunther, whether it's any previous, whether it's Drew McIntyre, whatever.
It could be Breaker. It could be the Vision. Yeah.
And that's going to lead to Team Punk and Team Roman versus the Vision. Because why would Punk win that match and then be like, well, I guess I'm just going to go into the cage as the champion, not defend it? It's
mean,
making me realize that they correlate. Those two, Saturday night's main event and this correlate.
I mean, they
Go ahead,
could.
Dan.
There's only a few weeks in between them, but I feel like we've seen Cody in the last two War Games, and he was, or we've, yeah, two War Games. I feel like we've seen a champion of either brand though in War Games the last couple years. I'd have to look back to make sure, but I feel like Cody was champion when he was in it. Maybe not though. Yeah, maybe I could be wrong there now. I was thinking that someone was. I was thinking that Cody was champion a couple years ago when, yeah, he would have when Punk and Orton came back. So I mean, I'm with you that could very easily rule one of them out. To me, I feel that could lead to them both being in the match, and that's where you get, where Jay's just so fed up with Punk. He's just like, I'm just teeing you up, man, so I can weaken you, and I'll come back and get that championship. I'll get my one more rematch for a championship, and we don't want more rematch. I don't want this title on Jay.
Right. And
But
regardless,
I see where you're going though too, and that wouldn't be very shocking at all to see one of the two not be in it because of them being the title holder, or that could be even leaning more towards Jay winning at Saturday
right.
night's main event, so Punk can be in this.
Doesn't it seem hard to believe that Jay and Punk Saturday night's main event ends clean? Doesn't that just seem hard to believe?
Yeah.
Why would that match end clean? Like it's almost hard to put into words. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any.
That seems like to be a rumor right
you.
now. I wouldn't be shocked considering the storylines they're involved in. But I mean, if that's not clean, if it's not a clean finish, I guess we don't have we could not have a world title holder at all then, if it's a DQ finish. So
yeah, let's say it ends in a DQ, Gunther comes back. He's like, no. There's not going to be a vacant title, and I'm not going to be a part of it. So therefore, I'm going to wreck this whole thing.
I mean,
yeah, I think the only thing that I can say in retort to that line of thinking, it is a very logical line of thinking, and I can definitely see where you're coming from, is it just as simple as the Vision's going to beat the crap out of him afterwards? Could it just be that simple, that he's that ticked off about it? Because Breaker would have a reason to attack. I mean, like, a reason to attack somebody is that's silly, but you know what I mean. Like, it's, like his logic would be, right, yeah, exactly. But the logic in the story would be, well, Braun Breaker wanted the world title. You heard him on Monday. I had the world title. They took it from me. Now I'm not in the match. Hey, Paul, explain to me what the hell's going on here. What is happening? How am I supposed to be happy about this? How am I supposed to be patient when this is happening to me today? And Paul's response was basically, you want the future of the WWE, look in the freaking mirror. You need to just be patient. And maybe either that's the vision of being patient, which is whoever, attack the world champion after they win the match, be a surprise, beat the crap out of them, soften them up so that I can beat them later, and then it turns into War Games. Or just be they got impatient again. They're young. They just want to hurt people. So they beat the crap out of Punk because they're pissed that he won the belt and they thought it should be his. Could it be that simple? It's possible it could be that simple as to the reason why Punk just goes, you know what? You two have been ticking me off for the last 6 months. I can't take it. Put me in a cage. I'm going to beat the crap out of both of you. Right? Like, could it be that simple? I think it could be. But I definitely could see your logic playing out in that they cost Punk just because they can and because they enjoy anarchy, hilariously, by stopping CM Punk. Anarchy by stopping CM Punk is ironic to me in so many ways, but and then Jay just saying, I don't really give a frick. I'm not the good guy. I'm just here to win world titles and basically be the Dollar Tree version of Roman Reigns. So that's literally what he said, by the way. Not literally, he didn't call himself the Dollar Tree Roman Reigns. But he basically in an interview just said, I'm trying to be like Roman Reigns.
You're doing a bad job of doing it.
Yeah, you're doing a terrible job at it. You know what Roman has that you don't? Charisma. And rapport. to be in that spot. But I digress. It was just a silly thing that I read, and I'm like, oh God, Jay, read the room, bud. Like, it's like, dude, this is not. And listen, I know we're getting off on a bit of a tangent, but
It's what we do best.
I actually find this story with Jey interesting. This is the most interested I've been in Jey Uso's character in the last year. I'm just being honest. And no, not just because he's turning heel and so now I'm interested. It's a lot more complex than that. It's you've given me a reason to care outside of a 4-letter word and an arm motion. You know? Like if all I could do was boil you down to that thing, then you're not that interesting. Like let's compare him to LA Knight. LA Knight is fantastic at talking. He can make anything sound good. He could be in there with Punk. He could be in there with Cena. He could be in there with Roman. He could be in there with The Miz. He could be in there with anybody on the microphone and hold his own and actually outclass that person at times. Not all the time, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and say he ran circles around John Cena on the microphone. But it's, he could hold his own and beat them at times on the microphone. Yep. Jey can't do that. LA Knight is not the best worker in the world, but you know what? I've seen his in-ring style evolve over the years, and he's gotten better. He's doing more flashy moves. He stands to get the crowd involved and doing all of his stuff, and he sticks to what he's good at.
He's kind of the ultimate example of you really don't. It sounds so simplified, but if you have charisma, you have not only do you have half the battle, you have like 80% of the battle. You could be kind of mediocre in the ring. But if you have natural charisma, it's like, all right, like, I like you.
Yeah. And then by contrast, I'm just going to be honest, like, Jey's moveset is punches, kicks, and a Samoan drop and a splash. That's his entire moveset in every match. Yep. He's fighting from underneath with punches and maybe an occasional headbutt and then super kicks. And then he does a Samoan drop to usually go into his comeback. And then he hits him with a splash. That is his entire offense. It's his entire moveset. It's been his entire moveset his entire career. And that's been fine because he's a tag wrestler for most of his career. Now he's a singles guy. He needed to evolve and do some more stuff, and he just didn't. There's a reason why Jimmy versus Jey was so bad. It's because it was two guys that all they do is punch and super kicks. And all that match was super kick, wait for 10 minutes. Super kick, wait for 10 minutes. Super kick, wait for 10 minutes. I don't like you. Super kick, wait for 10 minutes. That's all it was for it. Not wait for 10 minutes every time to add to 20 because obviously that math doesn't work out. But you understand my point. It was just 20 minutes of a super kick and then you wait, and then a super kick and then you wait, and then a punch and then you wait. That's not a wrestling match.
I really like Jey Uso too. I think he's great.
No, Again, I'm more interested in his character now than I've been in a year. But these are problems that Jey Uso has not fixed. Turning heel will not fix that problem.
I think
there's still limitations there.
I think the thing with him at this point is he doesn't even need the grand entrance in the song replay. Like he needed it a year ago, but at this point it's like, dude, you can just do a regular entrance and we probably like you. Like you don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a part of his shtick, so he has to do it. And the whole running it back thing, when Punk did that to him on Monday, that was the best part of that promo. Because that promo was actually kind of weak between those two. Mostly, I think, because Jey couldn't hold up against Punk. But that when Punk tried to run it back, and I loved it. How that was great. That was probably the best moment of that whole promo.
Right hand up, mini State of the Punk that'll last about 30 seconds. I read somewhere, and I fully believe it. So the difference between Punk now and Punk 20 years ago, is it really 15 years ago, is Punk 15 years ago, if he didn't like a segment, like if it was like, hey, we're going to put you with Santino Marella, he would put up a huge stink about it. That's like immature 15 years ago Punk. The difference now is he'll do it. He'll be like, okay, you guys are the boss. Like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. But it's night and day. Watch him in a promo battle with Gunther and watch him in a promo battle with Jey. He's at 20%. He's like, I'm just going through the motions. I was told what to do by my boss. And if he wants me to do this, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make a 5-minute promo. I'm going to raise my voice maybe once. Whereas you watch the Gunther one, it's like, oh my God, like this dude is literally heating up. Like they need to like actually start censoring his mic. So he'll go out there and do it, but it's just watch the tape. Literally,
Yeah, he's matching his opponent
watch
well
the
on the
tape.
mic.
It's like, oh, he's just going through the motions. He wants no part of this match.
Yeah.
He's putting him over. He's just like, all right, I'll put him over without completely annihilating him.
Yeah. Oh, and going and even saying even the LA Knight Punk promo. I mean, I feel like Knight kind of flubbed and saved himself, something Jey probably wouldn't do. But where Knight was kind of he flubbed it a little, but he saved himself and then got back on track. Punk kind of made fun of him for it, but they both got back on track and went through it, and it was a pretty good promo between the two of them. And it's like, Jey, I feel like this whole running it back thing that Jey does, it's almost like, hey, I'm still a little winded from coming down all of these stairs. Let's eat a little bit more so I can catch my breath. Because you can hear it in the promos like more and more. I swear I hear it more and more every time he does promos. And it's like, dude, like, and I think you guys are right. It's like, if you just did a regular entrance, that would help you out. And I think the realization for me, the final realization where I'm just like, yeah, I can't do these eats anymore with Jey was, I don't know, probably 2 months ago. Tyler and I briefly talked about this. We were going to try to do a pod, but our schedules didn't line up for this. But where it's like, where Jimmy and Jey were yapping against the Bronze, and like, Jey was playing his part of just like these very quick 1, 2 word, 3 word phrases, and Jimmy was doing the talking. I'm like, oh my word, I have seen this before, and how's it never dawned on me that Jimmy's always been the better talker between these two? It's like, why is Jey getting this push if Jimmy's the better talker?
I will tell you why. In very, very short answer, why. Consuming alcohol and then getting behind the wheel of a vehicle will severely stump your progression as a main event player.
Yes, and that all happened right at the start of the Bloodline storyline when it was just the Usos and Roman. And yeah, because that's basically what I think Tyler has said is like, yeah, it's just happened in circumstances where Jey just happened to get the push because Jimmy was basically out of storyline.
And there was other reasons, obviously, and the original Jey Uso main event push in 2020, 2021, I mean, it was fantastic. I had no complaints about it. They were great. But it was because his one-on-one matches were very limited. Like he had a few here and there, especially leading up to his matches with Roman, and that he was in there with Roman. So it's like you can't have a bad match with. I mean, you can, I guess, but it's really difficult, especially at that time when you had COVID and you could go for 40 minutes and there's no crowd and you could do whatever you wanted basically. But I always try to clarify this because I have so many people, and I can understand why, because I'm sure that people hearing me talk think this guy just hates Jey Uso. I promise I don't. I know I sound like it. I just hate the position that he's in. Yes. I don't think it makes. I think he would be better utilized elsewhere. That's not to say that he's a miserably bad world champion. He wasn't a miserably bad world champion. I just don't think it was a success. I don't think they got what they wanted out of it. And I think the fans didn't like when you hear a whole bunch of people saying, no, Jey, it's going to be fine. It's going to be awesome. And then when the whole thing's over, most of those same people looked back and went, it wasn't really all that good, was it? Is that what you wanted out of that run? Because it's not what I wanted out of it. That's what I said was going to happen back in January. I'm like, it's not going to be what you guys think it's going to be. Like, and then so I just think it'd be better utilized somewhere else. Like, as an example, if you told me, what's going to be one of the main events of night one? Jey Uso versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania. I'd pay to watch that. That would be a lot of fun. But Logan Paul with all of his antics and Jey doing all the eating stuff and Logan Paul getting annoyed and then him trying to do something similar and everybody booing the hell out of him because everybody hates Logan Paul. And then the two guys go at it. They both, obviously Jey's not a terrible singles wrestler, but it's not great. But Logan Paul's super athletic. He can do a lot of fun, crazy stuff. I think they'd have a really good, fun match. Anything unbelievable 25, 30 minutes of just pure, wonderful wrestling. But it would be entertaining and it'd be fun, and I'd pay to watch that. That's the kind of stuff that I would rather see Jey doing if you're going to have him be a single star than just shoehorn him into the world title scene and literally have him saying in interviews, I'm trying to be like Roman Reigns. And I also think that Roman Reigns has passed the torch to me and I'm the next Roman Reigns, because that's what he said. So it's like, no, like it's just a terrible idea. That's just me.
Jey has the perfect makeup to be the United States champion. Like, to your point, it's he. So we'll give him credit. He clearly outgrew the tag team scene. All right,
Of course.
great. But it doesn't mean you just go right to the top. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He's the perfect mid-carder. Like, why are you leading shows and finishing shows with him? If he's in the Intercontinental US scene, he's the perfect champion. He's going to put on good enough matches, but it doesn't mean you're like, okay, we're going to give him to Gunther. It's like, why? Like, I don't, like, that's just how I always saw it.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, no, it took me forever to come around with you guys, but yeah, I'm there, and yeah, there we go. But before we keep on going about this, we do have one more little segment we wanted to do with our Survivor Series War Games booking here. But that's okay. I think I know that Tyler and I have a team or a matchup picked out here for what we were kind of like, if we could just dream up a whole different scenario using even a combination of these. This is really where this idea begat from Tyler, because Tyler, you just gave me an insane scenario, and I'm like, oh, this would be so awesome.
Yeah.
So Tyler, take it away once again. What is your ultimate combination fantasy booking for War Games?
Oh, wait. Let me interrupt. Let me interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
I think before we recorded, we said that I'll come up with one so I can match you guys. Let's revert to the original idea. You two present the best you have, and I will figure out which one. I am Vince McMahon. Nope, that aged poorly. I am Triple H.
Nope, I am not Vince McMahon. Nay.
Yes.
It's awesome. Okay, we can do that. All right. So I suppose I'm still going first, I presume.
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so let's do this. So as Dan said, I sort of started this whole shebang with a ridiculously crazy, I knew it would never happen idea, but holy banana sandwich and peanut butter, would it be awesome if it did, right? It would be just the craziest thing ever. I would leverage all of the money on the mortgage I don't yet have to go to that show to watch that match, right? Like, it would just be crazy. Now, again, since all these injuries have happened, I have now had to make some adjustments. So, Dan, you've heard most of this, but you have not heard all of it. So I've had to make some adjustments. But, Joe, here we go. Here is my fantasy booking for this year's Survivor Series. Instead of just a normal War Games match, we are doing a 5-on-5-on-5 War Games match. 15 men will compete in this War Games match. 3 teams of 5. Here are your teams. And I have to tell the story of how we get there in order for it to make sense. So, first we'll start with the heels. There's one heel team, and there's 2 face teams, basically. So, the heel team, obviously it's going to start with division, right? So we've got Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. Paul Heyman, as you've said many times tonight already, sir, makes the call, calls upon Brock Lesnar. Gunther makes his return to the ring to be the 4th man. Now, with the formation of the other 2 teams that I will say in a minute, Paul Heyman gets antsy and says, for some reason, I don't think this team of 4 monsters is enough to handle the kind of craziness that's about to be thrown at us. So as Dan mentioned earlier in one of his bookings, he makes the call to NXT and calls up another monster of a man in the debuting Oba Femi to be the 5th man in this 5-on-5-on-5 War Games. So, again, the heel team, just to review, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Brock Lesnar, Gunther, Oba Femi. 5 monsters on basically Team Vision. Team number 2. I have to throw LA Knight in there, but outside of LA Knight, the original bloodline will reunite Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey the Usos, and of course, it wouldn't be the bloodline without the honorary Us, Sami Zayn. So Team 2, Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey, Sami Zayn, and LA Knight. And then, this is where just pure fandom takes over. Pure just, oh my gosh, this would be the most unbelievably unstoppable team. You see all these YouTubers that do these videos where it's like, what happens if everybody in the NBA was in their prime and we all put them on the team they're on now? Which would be the best teams in the NBA? I'm going with the Warriors because prime Steph, right? That's what this team would be. Imagine if these 5 men were all in their prime, because Team 3 is John Cena, CM Punk, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and the phenomenal AJ Styles as the third team. And now hopefully you can understand why Paul Heyman was getting itchy. He's looking at the OG Bloodline and LA Knight. I can't put Solo back in there. That would be silly. I guess I could. It's a fantasy booking, right? But that would still be silly. So LA Knight, and then basically like the Monstars of wrestling, like Cody Rhodes, John Cena, CM Punk, Randy Orton, AJ Styles. Oh my God. Like, there's an argument that in the current generation of wrestling, that's your Mount Rushmore and the fifth place guy. Like, that's your 5 best wrestlers on planet Earth at one point in time. Like, holy crap, they're all on the same team? I don't think this group of monsters is enough. So let's bring Omofemi up. And here's the best part. Team Cena wins, so the good guys win, or one of the 2 good guys wins. Yay, hoopla, hooray. Randy Orton RKO's Cody Rhodes, slithers out of the ring. That starts their feud. Jey Uso spears Roman Reigns. That starts the Jey Uso heel turn and a Roman Reigns feud. And then, because of the way the match ended, Braun Breaker got too overzealous, spears Obafemi through a table, takes him out of the match completely, even though they're on the same team. Inevitably, the Vision lose. Obafemi gets up, beats the tar stain out of everybody in the ring until the last person left standing is Obafemi, and he looks on one side of the double-sided ring, and on the other side of the double-sided ring is Brock Lesnar. And Lesnar sits there and goes, I don't really like any of these guys either. Let's just beat the crap out of each other. And then these 2 behemoths just go at it to end the night, and Obafemi ends up throwing Brock Lesnar through the WarGames cage all the way outside until the last man standing at the end of the night is the debuting Obafemi, and all the fans all around the world have to sit there and go, oh good God, what storm, what absolute demon did Paul Heyman just unleash upon the world? I don't know, but I'd pay any amount of money to see that 5-on-5-on-5 match. And in case that wasn't enough, if you really wanted to go nuts, you could add the MFTs as a 4th team. Just throw all 5 of them in there and have it be 5-on-5-on-5-on-5, and just have it be 5 cages, and it just be a whole banana sandwich with peanut butter and bacon and seasoned salt and lettuce.
We would need like 3
Chipotle mayonnaise. It's just going to be all of them. It would just be ridiculous. It would be the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. But I don't care if you're Triple H, Vince McMahon, or Joe Chason. You'd pay to see that match. And I know you'd pay to see that match, because it would just be a big old cluster in all the best ways possible.
I'm going to lose. I'm gonna
You were
lose
so
this.
confident going into this, Dan. Come on, you got
Well, I
this.
can never beat your storytelling for one. So
Okay, well, fair enough, I
when
guess.
you back it up like that, and my premise is basically going back to what we under the previous regime's version of Survivor Series was always Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. We got that one year that I will always love because it was one of the things that got me back into wrestling was a Team Raw versus Team SmackDown versus Team NXT because you had Keith Lee,
Sure.
and I forget who else was on that Team NXT, but Keith Lee always stood out to me because Keith Lee Roman Reigns was just a great moment in that match between those two. So my idea goes back to that in a sense of yes.
Little known fact, sorry to interrupt you, Dan. Keith Lee is actually my favorite wrestler of all time. That is not a joke, that is not a gimmick, that is actually the truth. He's my favorite
Yes.
wrestler of all time. Please continue.
You're fine. So going back, so taking that idea but putting it into a WarGames booking, I did a 4-on-4-on-4, not 5-on-5-on-5, because I'm just like, you can't fit. I don't know if you can fit that many guys in a ring without just utter destruction. So 4-on-4-on-4, Team SmackDown, and all these teams are gonna be. I did my best, but it's like each of these teams are gonna be like, I don't care how much you might like or hate someone. I'm putting my best team. We want this. We want the bragging rights for this War Games. We, put something on, put something on the line. Like the next year at War Games, it's the War Games. Put something on the line for War Games. The next War Games is, whichever team wins this, like it's they get to have another team again versus whatever 5 superstars or something. Like, put some bragging rights on this, but put like stakes in for next year somehow as well. So let's start on the SmackDown side. Team SmackDown. We got the good boy Cody Rhodes. He is, of course, brings in his best friend still right now, Randy Orton. Yes.
The good boy Cody Rhodes.
I mean, that's what he is. That's what he is.
I don't know why that was so funny to me, but that was good. I'm sorry. That caught me by surprise. That was funny.
He brings in his best friend for now, Randy Orton. We get Damian Priest. I feel like you convince him in, but they all have to rally together. Nick has to convince them to allow this fourth guy in, but Nick wants to win this so bad. He's like, I don't care how much you guys hate this guy. We know what he can do in the ring. And he pairs in Drew McIntyre with that trio. So Rhodes, Orton, Damian, and Drew for your SmackDown team. On the Raw team, we're going to repeat something we were repeating all night. The Killer Bees, Braun, Bronson, and Brock. It's going to be 3 monsters. And you just need, you have the 3 monsters. And the way I kind of even structure these teams, you got 3 just heavy hitters and someone that can kind of hit the ropes well. SmackDown kind of happened that, but Rhodes has a lot of off the top rope moves, so that's kind of I throw Rhodes on he can run the ropes a little bit more. But so you got the monsters on the Raw side, and you got to bring in a guy that can, kind of run the ropes a little bit. Bring in Penta. So let's have Penta with the monsters on the Raw side. Again, big bragging rights here. Team NXT, Ava. She goes to her top guys. And she's like, we need this. And you guys get to get featured on a main PLE. I don't care what you guys have against each other. And if you guys win, I'll do, maybe she'll even do an aside of it's like a fatal 4-way for whatever championship, or even like a double champion, depending on who else still has championship at this point. Because there are 2 champions on the NXT side. So, Ava wants to give an incentive for you. Hey, you guys work together, you guys win. Our NXT team, Obafemi, Javon Evans, Ricky Starks, and Ethan Page. Javon Evans is that, a high flyer, and then Ricky and Ethan, I think, are just good workers, and Oba is Oba. So, Team NXT versus Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. That's what I have for you. Just bragging rights. I think you have a lot of fun. I don't know. I shouldn't say I already know what Joe's going to choose here, but I think I know what I would actually choose of these 2 options, and it wouldn't be mine. So take it away, Joe. Would love to hear your thoughts on these two on these 2 bookings. And Tyler's about to lose it over here. This can be a great end to this podcast.
The good boy Cody Rhodes. That was so funny, dude. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm stepping all over you. Go ahead.
That was closer than you might think it was.
I agree.
You're both pulling at things that okay. The favorite going into the matchup is Tyler, right? So the underdog is Daniel, just based on let's say we knew what you guys were going to throw out there before you threw it out there. The betting odds were probably going to be Tyler, right? I am a traditionalist in a sense where I really wish they went back to the old SmackDown versus Raw. So that's what made Survivor Series. So I hate to choose a winner and a loser here, but like there's something to be pulled from both of them. And there's pros and cons to both. The pro from yours, Tyler, is the creativity of it, the sheer madness of it. The pros from yours, Daniel, is the implications, the bragging rights, the SmackDown versus Raw, the traditional team must band together to become the winner. The problem with yours, Tyler, is too much chaos is too much chaos.
Yeah.
So visually, it would be like a Royal Rumble where, yeah, it's really cool on paper, but there'd be a bunch of just guys waiting it out in the corner, guys hugging in the corner, waiting for their spot. So I think you can find some common ground and use Daniel's implications with a 5-on-5-on-5, where it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, the heavy hitters, the all-star team for all three. There would have to be some kind of prize. It would have to be like, to me, I always thought bragging rights wasn't enough. I like the sportsmanship of it, the Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, but it's like, nah, you got to get something. Each team gets one. Every member gets one title shot. It's almost like winning Money in the Bank, but all five get something out of it.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry. I thought you.
No, you're good. So, for the sake of picking a winner, because that's what the audience has been waiting for, I do have to go with the odds-on favorite. I am going with Tyler, but there's room. There's room for SmackDown versus Raw and NXT.
Yeah, I first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. And see, Dan, you had a chance. You don't have to talk so down to yourself. But yeah, I will say, I as you were talking through that, yes, obviously, I didn't try to ignore the chaos. I wanted it. I wanted all
Team
the chaos. That was
yeah.
I wanted chaos, right? I thrive on it. Anarchy. I want it. So, obviously that was the fun of the exercise. But in terms of the 5-on-5-on-5 NXT and versus Raw and SmackDown, like, yeah, I could definitely see the logistics of that being, you would have to have the teams be formed in a certain way, but it would be, here's what I think would be fun. One guy, at least on the NXT side, right? Because it's NXT and then the TNA partnership. So let's say you had this team for Team NXT. Just throw it out there. Say Ethan Page is the captain. If Ethan Page wins, he gets an NXT title shot. Actually, no. Ethan Page is NXT North American champion. Let me think of... Say... I just throw Oba in there. I know he's... I don't even know if he's on NXT anymore at this point because he might get called up. But let's just say it's Oba. So if Oba wins as team captain, he gets an NXT championship match. You have Javon Evans as one of the guys. If Javon Evans wins, he gets a North American title match. You have Joe Hendry. If Joe Hendry wins, he gets a TNA championship match. And then you have Hank and Tank. If they win, if NXT wins, they get a tag title match. So, like, every team on each brand is formed with that in mind, where the captain gets the world title match on their show. Mm-hmm. One of the other guys gets a secondary championship match. And then, for Raw or SmackDown, you can have it all be TNA if you want to. You can have one guy be designated as, like, say, what if AJ Styles is on Team Raw? If Team Raw wins, AJ Styles has to go back to TNA and have a TNA world title match. Like, there's going to be
what
a
everybody
huge
wants right
set
now.
of people that are going to be like, oh my God, I want Team Raw to win just so I can see AJ go back to TNA and have a match again. Like, right? You just, like, if you do that for each thing, that could work. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I agree with you, Joe. Obviously, I think that's a great idea, and I now think that they should do that, or I will not watch Survivor Series. I think that's what I've come up with. That's what I'm kidding, obviously, but I think it would be fun.
Yeah, it would. I appreciate the true creativity from Tyler. Always appreciate his creativity. That's what always makes a lot of these fantasy bookings a ton of fun. Joe, love your thoughts there. I didn't since we came up with this before we decided how you would evaluate these, Joe. I didn't even I knew I think I knew in retrospect, like the traditionalist might actually help me here. So as but I didn't really do that in mind of this. This was just the best I could come up with without making it crazy chaotic. But chaos is not a bad thing all the time.
I'm a traditionalist. You have to bring back championship scrambles.
Yes.
I love the championship scramble, first of all. I agree with you 100%. I've said that for years. I love the championship scramble. It's one of my favorite match types. But also, to be fair, Joe, I did write this before we knew that you were going to be judging it. I thought that we were just presenting it to everybody. So I was at a slight disadvantage in not knowing you were going to judge. But that's okay. I still pulled it out, so I can't complain too bad. So but it was a lot of fun. I would do it again in a heartbeat. That was great.
Yeah, well, this whole podcast was a lot of fun. I really appreciate both of you being a part of this. I know our time is kind of winding down in our Google Meet actually right here, so I will probably wrap this very quickly. But if you guys have one or two final thoughts, let's go for it. But really, again, just appreciate just everything you guys just bring to the table for these podcasts. Always a lot of fun. Love bouncing off of different people. So thank you guys both. Joe, any final thoughts for you? WarGames, wrestling in general. We will get a State of the Punk here soon. You and I will have to record that very shortly here so we can get some thoughts out on CM Punk. Awesome. Especially since Saturday night's main event is going to happen before this likely comes out.
You took the words out of my mouth. We were doing a whole lot of running before we could walk, gentlemen. And I think we're going to have a straight edge world heavyweight champion for more than 3 minutes and 48 seconds.
I sure hope so.
I hope so.
Any final thoughts from you,
just two things. Number one, guys, please support Dan. Please subscribe, like the video, comment, share it, do everything that, if you've gotten this far, you've dealt with all of our psychosis here, and we appreciate it. But also, please, if you've gotten this far, we'd appreciate it. And then also, if for some strange reason you haven't gotten enough of hearing me talk, which is ridiculous because you should by now, you can catch me on WWN Live, the YouTube channel. We stream every single Monday night from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm either on commentary or I am ring announcing. Some weeks I run camera. I might honestly be running camera next week. I don't know. But hopefully, I'll be on commentary or ring announcing. So if you do want to check that out, those boys and girls or, those men and women, they work unbelievably hard out there for very, very little reward. I'm just going to be honest with you. So it's a grind, and we would appreciate if you guys would check that out if you want more of me.
Yes, so. Go check out TJ Lopes and what he brings. I'm really excited, honestly, to see what he gets to do in his career as he launches into this. I really am, dude. I'm really happy for you. Joe, we've always talked wrestling before when we were both in Massachusetts. So this is always, it's fun to still reconnect and do it this way. So thank you guys both again. So yes, leave comments, leave thoughts. We appreciate it from you guys all, and we will catch you all next time.
Go be there.